these illegal wars, right?
Right.
That's the line. That's the brainwashing. So when you realize that that's not true, and you take a look at the quantifiable evidence which proves it's no longer true, like S-1867, for instance, you realize you're living in a fascist state. And the only thing that separates us from, a fascist state of, Mussolini's doing, or Mao, or Pol Pot, or Hitler, is the fact that they haven't yet started to arrest and shoot people in the back of the head. And now the infrastructure is in place to do that. So when you live in a society like this and you kind of throw yourself into the fire to speak like we're now speaking, because we still have the pretense of living in a free society.
Right.
Until they start to arrest people, until people start to disappear, we all need to continue to do this, because there is no other choice. The only other choice is that we all get on airplanes and move out of this country. And so anyway, credit to you guys for engaging in this info war, which is essentially what it is. It's a last-ditch info war. It's a last-ditch effort to try to wake up our brothers and sisters, our constitutional brothers and sisters, to say, look, the line has been drawn in the sand, and the Senate is now on the side with Goldman Sachs and the banksters. And we're all standing on this other side.
Right.
But unfortunately, they've got the military and they've got the power structure on their side. So I don't know what we're going to do, and I don't know when things really start to tip, but we've definitely hit the tipping point. And that kind of gets me back to my article, and the reason you guys are in business is to help protect people from an economic collapse or a orchestrated devaluation of the dollar, which we know can happen, because we've all seen this clip now with Joe Biden and John Corzine in 2009, in one of these campaign stump
Talking about a bank holiday?
Talking about, and who did the Obama administration turn to for advice? The arch criminal of MF Global and the former head of Goldman Sachs, John Corzine. So these people run the government. That's the definition. That's Mussolini's definition of fascism: corporate government in bed together to screw the people.
Right. I think Mussolini actually mentioned that it shouldn't even be called fascism, and it should be called corporatism, correct?
Oh, that may be the case. I mean, it's an oligarchy, it's an aristocracy, it's a plutocracy, it's a fascist government. It's anything but for and by the people. So that's why I feel like the hour of danger now is, we've moved to DEFCON 2. If DEFCON 1 is thermonuclear war, we're at a financial DEFCON. We're at a financial and liberty DEFCON level of 2, because DEFCON 1 is they start arresting guys like you and me and Alex Jones and Gerald Celente and Webster Tarpley and Paul Craig Roberts, who actually, good for him, is in Canada, I believe. But they start arresting people, and these truth tellers disappear. And then it's too late. Then it's too late to save the republic, and it's too late to get out of the country. And so I sort of feel like we are in that final hour, you guys. We're at DEFCON 2, and I don't know how much longer we have. So when you ask about hyperinflation, boy, that's really the point of no return. Because if we hit hyperinflation, they're probably just going to, declare martial law.
Yeah, I was just, I was reading something on John Williams just recently. I've followed him for years, but as like you had mentioned, and he has, 2015, maybe 14. We run to hyperinflation. We have Europe going right now. Nobody's even talking about Japan, which is even worse off than Europe, their banking system. As they go, and the dollar devalues, here we have this huge problem in the Middle East. Wait until people see what happens when the price of oil starts to skyrocket.
Yeah.
And then we have that extra tax on the economy. And I don't know, I'm kind of curious what your thoughts are on the Middle East with that, as we see, the way we positioned our forces obviously over there. As the dollar devalues, the price of oil goes up. We probably end up having lines at the pump again, because next thing you know, we're somebody's fighting with Iran.
Or the Straits of Hormuz are closed.
Yeah.
And in your opinion, could that even cause World War III over there?
Well, yeah, and Jerome Corsi is warning that World War III is, we're on the verge of it. We're seeing Russia flex their muscles and say, they're drawing a line in the sand, saying you are not going to put defensive missiles on our borders, because, if you're going to do that, then we withhold right to do a first strike, because everybody can see what these banksters are doing. This is no longer the American military. This is the bankster military. This is a military run, operated, and controlled by the same robber barons that stole our currency, in 1913. So, it's such a complex question, because you can take a look at Chris Martinson's work, and he definitely believes in peak oil, and then you can take a look at the work of guys like Lindsey Williams and others that believe that oil is abiotic, and there's plenty of it. It's just suppressed, and the demand is kept artificially high by those that control the oil. I tend to believe that oil is abiotic. I don't know that there's an endless supply of it, but I definitely think that we're trapped in a broken paradigm that we've been in for 100 years. And, take a look at the iPhone in your pocket. There's probably more technology in that iPhone than they sent men to the moon with in the 60s. So it's ridiculous that we're still trapped on a fossil fuel, quote-unquote, fossil fuel paradigm. There are no technologies better than this in 100 years? That's absurd. So they're keeping us trapped on a broken paradigm because they profit from it to the tune of trillions upon trillions upon trillions of dollars. And until we can break free of this paradigm, we're just entirely screwed. And I think that the hour of danger is extremely high as we meddle in possibly another illegal, unconstitutional war in Iran or Syria or Pakistan. It's just endless. And anybody that had done any research into history could have told you that this was going to happen when Obama was running for president and everybody was, drinking the Kool-Aid, believing that he was going to bring real change, because anybody that knew what was going on could tell you that Zbigniew Brzezinski was behind him as his foreign affairs advisor, and Zbigniew Brzezinski wrote the book The Grand Chessboard, which foretells all of this. This is all part of the blueprint. This is exactly what the powers that be wanted to do. They wanted to get into these wars in Euro-Asia and take over land and resources, natural gas and oil and everything else in Afghanistan, and also have a place to wage war with China if need be. So it's just an absolute mess, and I have children, and I just worry endlessly about this stuff, because this is not the type of world any of us bargained for.
Yeah, you're right. I've got young children myself, and that's my constant worry. Is if it was just my wife and myself, sure, we could take care of ourselves or hop to a different location. But with young children, A, that's just a little bit more difficult, and B, it's sad to see how things have turned out. This wasn't, in the 80s and 90s, things here in the U.S. seemed pretty comfortable for most of us in our age range. And now you look at it and you're scratching your head going, where did we go wrong?
Well, and I think that we're all, speaking for myself, I'm in a little bit of denial here, and I think I can probably speak safely for most of us that are kind of in this fight for truth. Those of us that are speaking, what we believe to be truth based on quantifiable facts, like we've had, like we've been discussing here. We're in a little bit of denial, because for me, this S-1867, for the Senate to authorize the military now to arrest American citizens and to lock you up and throw away the key without writ of habeas corpus, which means you do not get to go in front of a judge to determine and have the judge determine if you're being held lawfully or not, or if there's any merit for your arrest. That is a Soviet Stalinist Mussolini gulag. That is, so I'm saying that we're in denial because maybe we will look back in a year or 5 years or 3 months and say that was our opportunity to get out of this country. Because once that thing becomes law, if Obama doesn't veto it, if it goes through, I just don't even know what to say, guys. I guess we're all sitting here saying that we're going to fight to the death then. And I'm on board for that if millions will stand with me.
Right.
But if the American people are going to remain asleep, then we're getting darn near time to consider getting out of this country.
Which I think a lot of people have already done. When you see that Posse Comitatus is essentially dead, everything that our revolution was fought for, we've regressed, we've returned to. It's a bit unnerving. Sean, I can't thank you enough for coming on to our radio show. It's been a pleasure. With our customers that come in, a lot of times they're very uncertain. They know that they should be invested in gold and silver. They're not exactly sure why yet, or it's only something that they've heard. They can see that there's something really wrong with society, but they can't pinpoint what it is. And one of the first videos that I recommend is that they go on YouTube and they watch your Why Silver, Why Now? Because when I was first coming into it, that's probably the video I watched where I was, there's a lot of doubt at first, and then you watch that and it's solidified. You know what's going on, why you have to be invested in precious metals, why you have to be away from the fiat currencies that are constantly being devalued, that's destroying the middle class and empowering the elites of the world. So once again, I'd like to thank you for your work in that area.
Yeah, thank you, Joe. And I mean, I didn't discover all this stuff on my own. There's lots of guys in front of me that helped me learn what I know, and guys like Adrian Douglas and Ted Butler and James Turk and Eric Sprott and John Embry and Jim Willey, all of these, Gerald Salenti, Alex Jones. These are the guys that help us all become more knowledgeable. And as I like to say, we're all in this mess together. So thanks so much for having me on and spreading the word.
Right. And for our listeners of Liberty Metals, if you want to follow SGT more, you can go to SGTReport.com. Is there any other source that they can go to find information about you, Sean?
Oh, thanks. That's probably the best source. And if they want to get onto YouTube to see all of my videos, the easiest way to do that is just go do a Google search for SGTBull 07, and lots of stuff will pop right up.
All right. Well, again, we thank you for your time.
Oh, thank you. It was a pleasure talking with you guys.
Hey, thanks, Sean. Keep up the great work.
All right. Thanks, buddy. Talk to you guys later.
All right. Bye.